This is Math Expressions Unit 3, Lesson 6, and in this lesson we are going to correct the lesson actually. So remember, as you were correcting, please don't erase anything, and if you do need to make changes or fixes, please just add them to what you already have using either a green correcting pen if you have one, or you could also use a green colored pencil as well. Okay, so let's go ahead and get going. So let's start with number 2. 34 rounds to 30. Number 3, 78 becomes 80. Number 4, 25 becomes 30. Remember, when it's a 5, we round up in the United States. We round up. Number 5, 57 rounds up to 60. Number 6, 89 rounds up to 90. Number 7, 42, we say rounds down to 40. And number 8, 92, also rounds down to 90. Okay, so you can tell I'm going to go really quick. You can always pause the video to make any fixes and start it back up. But there's a lot, right? 4 pages. This is a long lesson, so I'm going to go pretty quickly through this. Okay, all right, so let's go down to this next section here, rounding 3-digit numbers, right? So we already did number 9 together, and we kind of started with number 10. I was showing you that the hundreds pretty much always, usually, will stay the same. There's one case, and you probably found that with number 14. But let's go ahead and do number 10 first. So 741, so 41 rounds to 40. 11, 309, so there's our tens place. But remember, we look to the right, and so 309 becomes 310. Number 12, 255 becomes 260. Number 13, 118 becomes 120. Number 14, and this is the one that was a little bit tricky. So this 97, I'm sorry about that. This 97, I don't know what I did there. This 97 becomes 100, right? So we need to go up to the next 100, which really means, right, we are between 100 and 200, right? And that 97 means we would go up to the 200. So this actually becomes 200. Number 15, 500. And then number 16 becomes 250. 250. All right, so explain your thinking. Number 17, explain your thinking. How do you know whether to round up or down? Right? We look at the digit to the right of the place we are rounding, and if it is 5 or greater, we round up. If 4 or less, we round down. So that was a lot. I'm going to make this a whole new sentence. So that's how we do it, right? We look to the digit just to the right of the place that we're rounding to. So like, for example, let's look at number 16 again. So we're rounding to the tens, right? So I'm looking, there's the place underlined, and I look right to the right. And that tells me, am I going to round up to 50 or am I going to round down to just 40? So that's that. All right. So let's get ready to go on the next page. Okay, so let's go ahead and go on to the next page. So we already did number 18 together. That was done. So number 19 here. So we are rounding. We're rounding all of these numbers to the nearest 10. So we have 52, and that becomes 50. We have 75, that becomes 80. 36 becomes 40. Fix that. And then 23 becomes 20. So if we add all those up, right, the zeros are just going to stay the same. And then I see partners for 10, so 8 plus 9. So there's 10 plus 9, we have 19. So 190. So we say 190 pieces of jewelry. All right, number 20, same thing. Let's see. We're going to do some subtracting. Is that right? I remember she watched. Yep. So we're doing some subtracting on this one. So 123. We're going to round to the nearest 10. So 123 just becomes 120. And then 48 becomes 50. So if we subtract, those zeros are going to stay the same. We can't take 5 away from 2. So that becomes a 12. And that's 70. So she has about 70 minutes, right? That's what we're counting on that one. 70 minutes left to do. All right. So on number 21, it said to round each number to the nearest 100. So I'm actually going to go on this. I'm going to right over here. So 436, if I round to the nearest 100, becomes 400. And 352 becomes also 400. That's kind of wild, huh? I'm going to erase that. Well, I'll just leave that. So 400 plus 400 would be 800. So we would say about 800 books. Okay, so now it says round to the nearest 10. So this 400, I'm going to do it on this. I'm going to do it over here now. 436 becomes 440. And 352 becomes 350. Now, if we add those together, we get 097. We get 790. So which is, not far, right? 10, just 10 away from what we had. But now let's add, so let's see, 790. So now let's add what they really are. So 6 plus 2 is 8. 3 plus 5 is also 8. And 4 plus 3 is 7. So which is closer? Is 800 or 790 closer? Well, clearly 790 is closer, right? Which is closer? The 790, right? It's the tens. We rounded to the tens. That was closer. All right. Okay, now let's go ahead and go on to the next page. So on this page, we were rounding and to decide if an answer is reasonable or not. It was similar to what we did on that previous lesson. So we already did 24, 25. So let's go ahead and number 26. So 83 rounds to 80 and 19 rounds to 20. If we add those together, we get 100, which is only, right? Which is only 2 away. So we would say, here's our answer. And we would say, yeah, that's 102 would be a reasonable, right? Reasonable answer. Okay, let's look at number 27. So 336. Look, we're going to round, let's just round this one down to 100, and then let's round this one, 300, and then round this one up to 300. And when we do that, we actually get, that actually equals 600, right? Which is really only away, 6 away from 594. So I'm going to say, so that's pretty close. So I'm going to say, yeah, that's a reasonable answer. Number 28, 468. I'm going to say that that's 500, right? We round up. Take away 200 would give us 300. So is 280 close to 300? I'm going to say it's pretty close. So I'm going to say 300, and I'm going to say yes again here. Number 29, 437 rounds to 400. And then 149 rounds down to 100. And so if we add those together, we get 500. So 536. Is that close? That one might be close. You know what I'm going to do on this one? I'm going to try doing it another way. So let's go 440. This time I'm rounding to the tens. And this one becomes 150. So now when I add those together, I get 590. Is that what I get? Yeah, 590. So that, yeah, I'm not sure on this one. I'm going to go with, yeah, okay, I think I'm going to say no. I'm going to say it's either 500, which is 36 away, or 590, which is like 54 away. So I'm going to say no. that's not a reasonable answer. So this is going to be interesting. I'm going to try, and I didn't really tell you what to do. So if you rounded to the hundreds, so let's do this one on number 30, that would be 700, and then we're going to take away 300, we would get 400, which isn't even close, right? That's no way is that even near close. So let's say 400 and definitely a no. Let's look at 31 though. So 249 would become 200, right? Plus 500, that would become 600, which would be 800, which is 22 off. Now let's try this on this one. Let's try also doing it to the nearest 10. So the nearest 10 would be 250 plus 570, and that equals together. Okay, I have to do a little addition down below here. So 250 plus 570. If I add those together, I get 0, 12. That doesn't look like a 7, but it is. And then 8. So that one is 820. That's much closer, right? That is much closer. So if we go by the tens, 820, I would say, yeah, that's definitely close. All right, let's try this. Let's try this both ways with this number 32 now too. So 500 minus 200 equals 300, which is way off. So I'm going to say, no, not right away. But let's try it again. Let's do so 540, we're rounding to the tens this time, minus 170. So again, I'm going to come down here. So 540 minus 170. So the zeros, I can't take 7 away from 4. So that becomes 14. So 7 and 3. So 370. And neither of those are anywhere near that 475. So definitely no. So I'm going to say 370, and I'm going to say no on that one. All right, so those are tricky. Yeah, I'll just look at what you did, how you rounded either to the hundreds or to the tens, and what your answers were. I didn't give you, I guess I let you choose what you were going to do on that one. So, all right. Let's go on to the next page. Last page of correcting. So this was our puzzle penguin, and we were supposed to fix his errors, right? And hopefully you saw that this was his error right here. That the 384 does not round down to 300. It should have rounded up to 400, right? And that he did the 524 correctly. So instead of 800, he should have got 900. So down here on number 33, no, you should have rounded 384 up to 400. Something like that. I'll see if you got that. All right, and then our last one. This one's kind of tricky. These estimating the number of objects in these jars. So what I do is I look at, if that's 100, if that line is 100, and I were to draw that line kind of across all the rest of these, right? It looks like I could kind of, I'll go with this one, and if I drew that line all the way across all of these, it looks like I'm kind of doing thirds, right? Here to here is 100, this would be another 100, so this would be another 100. So this is about half. So I'm going to say that jar A would hold 50, about 50. Jar B would hold about 200, and then jar C would hold, I'm going to estimate around 300, right? If each of these 100, 100, 100, right? But this is 50. Yeah, so that's what I would do. And then the last one down here, this check for understanding. Round each number to the nearest 10. So 83 becomes 80. 98 becomes 100. 245 becomes 250. And 362 is just 360. All right, so that was a lot of work. Good job, you guys. Make sure you have all those fixes, all those changes down, and good job.